Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Love and Law. My name is Virginia Warren. I'm a lawyer and conflict alchemist, and I'm also the co-founder of the organisation called Lawyers for Love. At Lawyers for Love, we see that the legal system in its present form, uses fear-based techniques to solve problems. Lawyers for Love say that to solve a problem, you need to shift to a higher level of consciousness than was used to create the conflict. That consciousness, we say, is based in love. Love is of the essence consciousness, we call it, Leo Tech for short. And in these live broadcasts, we are showcasing amazing lawyers globally who are bringing love into legal practice in their own particular way, showing that it's not just one way to bring love in, you can do it in many ways. And today it gives me absolutely the best pleasure ever to introduce a pioneer change agent to the legal system, Kim Wright. Kim, I met you, I think it was about 5 years ago when I was in this lonely space, in legal space, thinking who else out there thinks the way I do, and I found your book. And then I contacted you and you graciously offered me a Zoom chat. And I said to myself at the time, what the hell is Zoom? now we all know what Zoom is.
We all know what Zoom is.
I know, but you were the one that introduced me to Zoom. And I'll never forget that. Yeah, that's right. I just thought, oh, what is she talking about? What's this Zoom business? And now 5 years down the track, it's just a common word that we're all using. So welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on board. And I just want to just read a little bit more about Kim's background here. And she says that she has had a lot of roles and job descriptions over the years, co-founder and trainer in the conscious contracts movement, and is a pioneer in holistic law, collaborative practice, restorative justice, legal design, therapeutic jurisprudence, plain language, and other cutting-edge approaches. After a dozen years of being a nomad, bringing change, connection, and humanistic innovations to law on 6 continents, in 2020, she took her work online. Kim is a consultant, connector, and trusted advisor for cutting-edge lawyers, like-minded professionals, and communities around the world. She creates courses, articles, conferences, new approaches, and organizations. Among her publications are 3 American Bar Association books. She is also a visiting clinical professor at Quinnipiac University School of Law. I hope I've pronounced that okay. And to bring love into law, Kim sees it as reuniting law and love. Martin Luther King Jr. said that justice is love correcting that which revolts against love, which I think is amazing, a beautiful thing to say. And she says she's also heard that doctors heal the body, ministers heal the soul, and lawyers heal relationships. Love is the healing energy that brings us all together. So if you'd like to read more about her work, visit jkimwright.com. And welcome, Kim. Welcome so much. You've been doing so much in this space. Probably we don't have time to talk about it all today. But as I said, you are the first person I met that made sense to me. And I thought, oh, yay, I'm not alone. and that's particularly why I'm doing this broadcast as well, to showcase those lawyers that are doing this kind of work and to say to everybody, look, it's okay. You can actually bring your own style of love into legal practice and just do it. There are plenty of people out there doing it. So your latest thing is you're in the conscious contracts movement. So I've been hearing a lot about what you're doing there. So I'd like to talk about that. And also you've got a new book coming out. Let's talk a little bit about that.
I'm one of the editors of a book called Trauma-Informed Law, a primer or primer, depending on where you are, for practicing lawyers. And that one will be published by the American Bar Association. We just, a week ago, turned in the draft to the law practice management section. And so it'll be a few months before it's out. It needs a cover and a proper title. That may be the title.
Yeah, okay. What was the inspiration for that?
A lawyer called Brooke Goldfarb was in a master's in social work program. And she called me up and she said, who wrote the book on trauma-informed law? I'm studying trauma in my master's program and there has to be one. And there wasn't.
Oh, okay.
And so my background, I ran a domestic violence program. I've done a lot of restorative justice work, including in severe violence cases. I raised the passel of children who had been living on the streets. I did family law, for goodness sake, lots of that, lots of domestic violence cases in my family law practice. I'm a survivor of domestic violence. I mean, like trauma is. I mean, and the system is trauma inducing. It's not designed to heal people or to love people through what is going on, no matter what they're there for. It's kind of a traumatizing experience. And so when I saw there wasn't a book, I reached out to Helgi Mackey, who is a former client of mine, a trauma expert, awesome human being who left a very successful corporate law practice to focus her work on trauma. So I reached out to her and I said, "Are you interested in a book?" And we wrote to the American Bar Association. Like one of the people that I contributed to a book called something like "Be the Best Lawyer You Can Be" by Stuart Levine. And so I thought he was on the publications committee, and he is. I reached out and said, "Stuart, is there a book on, or is the ABA interested in a book on trauma-informed law?" And he said, "We were just talking about it." And I said, "Well,
amazing.
Would you entertain a proposal?" So I wasn't looking for this as a book to write, but I saw that it was needed. And then with Helgi's help, and then we went and we each invited someone different under the team, and that was Myrna McCallum, who's an Indigenous lawyer and has a podcast on trauma-informed lawyering in Canada, and Marjorie Florestal, who actually, it turned out, she's an old friend of mine, and I had no idea until we just happened to have a conversation. She is working on her PhD. She has her master's in Jungian psychology, and she's now working on her PhD. And something, I don't know how she says it, but it's something about law students and trauma. And so the four of us came together and, collected a lot of other input. We reached out to put out a proposal for contributions. Got some amazing contributions in, and wove it all together. Wrote our own pieces, and it's a book. Right now, it's a book of 450 pages, and the maximum in our contract is 300. So, like most lawyers, we overdid it.
There's some culling to be done. Yeah, that's right.
There's some editing to be done, and it's just it's just really been a lovely process until the end.
I imagine so. Yeah, until the end. What do you mean?
It's just long hours and hard work, and everything else falling through the cracks. But it
is a lot of work writing a book, isn't it? Really, really is, and coordinating all the information that needs to flow. But it's brilliant you've done that, and it's amazing to me that all the cooperative components come together. When something needs to be done, it's amazing and crazy how it all just flows through. It just, you meet the right people and that's how it flows. You can't make that stuff up, really. You just can't.
Yeah. It's a book that wanted to come into the world. It's sort of like an accidental pregnancy. It wanted to come. It wasn't on my agenda. It wasn't on the list of things that I thought I was going to be involved in, but it made sense in retrospect.
Yeah, because, and it's beautiful that you've asked for all these experiences, because as we know, words don't teach, but experience does. So when you can actually step into that space and say, this is how I felt about this, and this is the outcomes that happened when I did this or that. So then people really can sort of, that's my story too, and people really relate to a story, don't they? I believe in any event.
Yeah, the book actually has stories. It has neuroscience and psychology. Like we lawyers need a lot to keep our brains happy.
Yeah.
But the hope is that we're going to keep the brain happy and also open the heart and and encourage sort of a holistic approach.
Yeah, both sides of the human working in the projects, because I think it's really interesting, and I've been talking to quite a few lawyers about this. This is why this program's been really good, because people have really been talking to me about their practices and everything else. And it is the situation going into family law. The first things that happen is, oh yes, let's draft an affidavit, or your story, which says how your position is you're going to protect you, and we're going to blame the other person. And we're sort of creating that greater divide in the story, aren't we? And creating greater trauma, I believe, that when you walk into the legal space, it really is generating and exacerbating the fear. Fear is a strange word, but it's from the point of view that it's a negative. Negative emotion. The negative emotion is growing rather than any positive emotion, any positive movement. And I find that really quite disturbing. When I thought about it one day, I thought, do you know what? The legal system in its entirety is underpinned by fear. It's all, even in our contracts, our legislation, it's all punitive. There's consequences, and they're usually punitive. Be good and I'll love you. And if you're not good, there'll be a punishment. It's like a stick. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting. It's not, oh, if this doesn't work out, how about we look at our behavior and why we're behaving in this manner, looking at from a more positive point of view. No, we're not, are we? So
it's actually, it's the victim triangle. Also known as the drama triangle, which is something that psychologists study as a dysfunctional pattern. And we have based our entire legal system on it.
Upon it. That's right. And we're perpetuating that every time we're dealing with a client and their issues, we seem to be perpetuating this negativity and even the words and all those sorts of things. So it's going to take a great deal, I think, to shift that position, but one person at a time. And if you're bringing this information through for us to all see and understand perhaps how the person going through the system feels. Because for me, I mean, you've been through it as well. I was recently in the family court system, and they put me in a safe room because I was subject to domestic violence. And you felt immediately segregated. And you thought, wow, this is an interesting place to sit from that point of view. And that you were hoping the system was going to protect you, but it wasn't there to protect you at all, really. It was doing the best it could, but it can't do that. And if people are thinking the system is protectionist, they are mistaken. It doesn't protect you. It cannot, because fear cannot protect you. These are the interesting things I've been observing myself. Yeah.
You're right. Fear can't protect you. In part of the book, one of the things we looked at was some of the trauma-informed courts. And there's this great story about Memphis, Tennessee in the U.S., the middle of the U.S., a southern state even. And a judge was appointed to the bench or got elected, whichever they do in Tennessee. And he looked around and he said, this is not the environment I want. And he pulled the blinds of all of the big windows, and light came in, and he brought in plants, and he painted the rooms and nice colors and put murals on the walls. And just changing that physical space started to change how they interacted with people as well. And they started being more interested in what the clients needed, or the litigants. What do people need? And so it completely shifted everything. So the physical space changed. And then, I wasn't there, but from reading the article, it sounded like they changed the physical, and that helped to pave the way to change how they interacted with people, and therefore the experience of being in that court.
Yeah, maybe it's even, bringing a different energy into the building, because that's what I see. I see that even the energy of fear, that negative energy, is infused in the buildings, in the law offices, and then it's I call it an egregore. It exists as an entity. And if, there's a beautiful thing you've just told me, this judge has come in and shifted the energies basically of the building itself, so that hopefully there's like the feng shui, isn't it? Like we should all go and feng shui and smudge and and do some saging of our buildings, and it might actually help. And I think even the idea of, I've heard of people infusing love with their own energy into articles, like the computer or the chair or the desk and things, because it is all energy. And this is what I'm really talking about now. And it's what Lawyers for Love are saying. Until we all, the legal system approaches any conflict or any situation now with the idea in mind, this is energy. We are playing with frequencies, positive, negative. We are playing with those ideas. And if you can shift all of that, you can shift it using the energetic idea rather than us being physical solid items. We aren't. We simply aren't. So that really makes a shift.
Have you interviewed any of the Brazilians that are doing constellation work?
No, I haven't, but I've done Edwina's class here in Melbourne, and she sent me the video, and I looked at that, and I just thought, see, this is it. That's it. It's all energy. And if anyone hasn't done a constellation, a family constellation, please do. It is absolutely mind-blowingly amazing how that energy is working through you in those spaces with all these people. And yes, I think there's that YouTube video, and you just watch these people they just get a revelation when the energy is delivered, like, wow, it's nothing to do with me. I see the whole situation differently now. And that's what we're really trying to show. This is a different planet we're on. And if we want to observe that now, we can take the benefit away. Yeah. And being informed by the trauma rather than going into it and utilizing it as the stick again, and being informed, wow, there's trauma here. Why? Why is the trauma here? Let's infuse some love into it. I mean, I'm not sure what you're saying in this book. What have you drawn any conclusions or?
Well, we talked a lot about the tools and a lot of somatic experiences. And we have a piece that actually does talk a little bit about constellation work. And, a lot of it is about bringing the wholeness back, trauma is a holistic experience, and you can't solve it from your brain. You can't fix it and think your way out of it or any of that.
Yeah, that's what lawyers have been tending to do, and that's as part of
shut it off.
Yeah, that's right. We're these intellectual beings, and that's beautiful, and that's amazing, and we still need that intellect. So don't panic, lawyers. We're not getting rid of your intellects, because that is necessary.
Right. That's right.
And in fact, what I say about lawyers more than anything is they understand perspective. I mean, they've had to argue on both sides of the case. They can see the perspective. So how about we use it from another point of view, in seeing perspective that we are whole beings and that all experiences are valid. And I think when we're going into systems, as I had Judge Carlos Moore on my program recently, he's a judge in Mississippi, and he's doing amazing things in his courtroom, saying that instead of giving someone a punishment, he's giving someone a goal. So I believe in you. You are me and I am you. So you are not bad. And this is what our system tends to do. It's just that we'll go and say, you are bad. I'll pop you in jail. Then I won't have to see you. I won't have to see that part of me I don't like anymore. I'll pop you away. But that's part of me. So if I'm not owning me and not seeing that, okay, this is a part of me that needs working with to bring it back to the whole, we're not being holistic at all. We're not profiting from these opportunities that are around. Yeah, it's crazy good. It's beautiful stuff. I love this. We're bringing it into, this is acceptable and it needs to be looked at now. Like, don't put it under the carpet anymore, under the bed.
One of the things, it seems to me that it's been like the elephant in the room. That lawyers, I can't see it, but, like, I've got to ignore that. I'm not traumatized. My client's not traumatized. The system's not traumatizing, la, 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 la.
Yeah, and I don't want to deal with it. That's right, because then I might have to look at myself. Yeah.
And if you have 300 cases and they're all highly traumatic situations, it's a self-preservation. It's not out of any sense of not caring. It's about fear and caring so much that you just lose yourself and lose your effectiveness. And so So we're not dealing with it. And in law school, they teach us not to deal with it because it's not relevant. Anything having to do with emotion.
Yeah, that's right. And do you know what? The other day I met I've met over my time recently, funnily enough, a couple of clinical psychologists, and they're taught exactly the same. And they are clinical. It's just like, I don't get involved in that emotion, but hang on, this is the whole human. This is what I'm not understanding. It's like, no, yes, we've got what I think we would be better learning is energetic hygiene, in how to really keep our energy clean so that we're not absorbing, because I say we're resonating. You resonate with a fear, and if you're going to take it on board, you're just going to grow that fear for yourself, and it's going to be a negative experience for you. So to hold space, is to keep that energy clean first. So know where your fears are and work through those.
Well, and so instead of taking any kind of action like that, lawyers just learn to drink, the high level of alcohol addiction, suicide, all of that. And so I've been a student of all of the lawyer well-being studies and, all the research and all that kind of stuff. And I've never seen anybody look at trauma. And in doing this book, I said, that's it. That's like the elephant in the room. That's what's happening. So we haven't taught lawyers to deal with trauma. We've taught them to pretend it's not there, or to discount it in themselves and their clients. And it's part of re-traumatizing people over and over and over, and building a system that is traumatic and not therapeutic.
Yes, well, and in my own experience recently, I was opposed by a very experienced commercial litigator type family lawyer. And I laugh because it only enhanced my own experience in one way. But from another perspective, I thought, wow, all that lawyer is doing is satisfying his shareholders, because it was a large corporate firm doing that. He did not have any connection with any of the humans in the process. And there's a reason for that, because it would be too traumatic. I would absolutely agree with that. But what was sort of overlooked, I believe, in that situation was, from my point of view, I thought, wow, this person discounted my humanity in there. And if I was a traumatized person, it's almost like post-traumatic stress. Especially if you've come out of a domestic violence situation, and then you've got someone else out there really helping build their client's case, the person that's dismissing any of that behavior, just saying, no, you're imagining it, that's all wrong. I just was flabbergasted. I thought, this system, and it was so valuable to be a client on the other side of the desk, to see this is what is happening. And it is, not only is it perpetuating the disconnect between the people that are going through the conflict, it gives no credibility to the lawyer or the legal system whatsoever, because all you could see was a money-generating machine. It had no concern for the human involved in it whatsoever. Whereas I'm meeting now these beautiful lawyers, and they're mostly in small practices because they don't want to be involved in those machines anymore, that are just, utilizing, and it is almost like a vampiristic type situation. Out of fear, we're drawing the money. We're drawing the money out of the fear. And I thought, wow, it's crazy.
If you're going to do really, really objectionable, hard work and have to cut yourself off and dig into things that are really unpleasant, you ought to be paid a lot of money. That's the justification.
That's true. And of course, it's always a choice for a human to do that, but I don't find it a sustainable one personally, but there you are. And I think that's why the burnout is. I know, it's just come through the window. Isn't it beautiful? This is lovely. It's a sign. Yeah, that is amazing. But that's exactly what I feel about the system, is because it's a closed system, the energy doesn't flow through it. And of course, you can only draw so much energy out of a closed system before it collapses. And that's what I see happening right now. If we're not going to connect to the whole human and be informed by what is really going on with the humans involved in the system, it's not sustainable.
Well, and actually, a lot of the systems experts uh, are like Margaret Wheatley, who is well known among systems thinkers and change agents as a consultant and an author. Even looking at historically, like Western civilization is in collapse. So societies rise and fall, and we are about to collapse. And so I see a lot of the work I do, and a lot of the people in my circles are actually inventing the new legal system. We're piloting what's going to come next.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You're creating the new platform, and that's exactly what I see. You know, I mean, we're all part of this one beautiful group of these amazing lawyers, as I see it, that are trying to, we're not trying to do anything. I call it the smoking and non-smoking movement, because we're all the non-smokers over there. Once upon a time, it was so fashionable to smoke, and you wouldn't have been caught dead not smoking. And now I can see slowly the non-smokers, these new lawyers are emerging like, yeah, you know, I want to actually feel better. I want to do my day job, and I want to feel better doing it. Yeah. And now you're also into conscious contracts. Tell me a little bit about the conscious, because I love the word being conscious. Tell me about that.
Well, in fact, I used to teach, I had a catalog of 35 different courses, and this one became the most popular course, far and above any others. And it's because contracts, that's a term that we understand as lawyers. Everybody does contracts of some kind. Even our engagement letters are contracts. But the whole conscious thing captures people's imagination. Yeah. And so a conscious contract, or the conscious contract model, is about starting with the relationship. Like, you know, if you and I are going to do something together, then, like, who am I and what's my mission? What is this going to forward in my vision of the world? And how are my values going to be honored? And then how are your values going to be honored? How does this forward your mission and vision in the world? And we actually have those conversations, which is the real meeting of the minds. So contracts require a meeting of the minds, and that's been interpreted, and I think misinterpreted it to be signing the paper that 90 something % of people don't read, or checking the box. Like, you know, but this is a real meeting of the minds. This is a relationship that is being documented through a written paper or electronic document, and so we have to start there. And especially for things, you know, where there's going to be a personal relationship, partnerships and founders agreements, and even landlord-tenant separation agreements, all of those sorts of things where there are people who are going to continue to interact and depend on each other. Then we create that vision together. And at that point, people, you know, like I always say, they just fall in love with each other. You know, even crusty old business people. You know, I have examples of like a building contractor who, when I asked him, you know, what was really important to him, he said, peace, love, and understanding. You know?
Yeah, you know? That's right.
I mean, you know, and it's like, so then we, you know, we have the conversations about why have you chosen each other, and, you know, what is the bigger mission that you're helping each other achieve. And how are we going to then keep this relationship intact? Because we're humans, and it happens, you know, that people have disagreements, big changes happen. Now, it's no longer a stretch for people to imagine big changes happen. We can talk about the pandemic, and like nobody would have expected to have, you know, the whole world closed down, locked down. But that created a lot of problems in relationships and contracts and businesses and everything that they needed to figure out what to do about them. When the Suez Canal was blocked, you know, there are all these different opportunities for dealing with change. And so what is the system that you want to have in place? Like, how do you want to communicate? Whose job is it to reach out? how are you going to bring your contract back into alignment when something knocks it off center? And when there's a conflict, how are you going to speak to each other? Some people like to think about it for a while, and some people want to yell it out. And we all have a different way of interacting with each other when we're in conflict. And so we actually talk about that, and we write in a plan. We design the plan to keep this relationship intact, so that the people can do that thing that was really important, instead of spending all their energy trying to fight with each other. So
punish each other.
And it's about, how do I hold myself accountable? Like I want to be my best self in this relationship, and how will I ensure, like, what are the conditions I need to be my best self, and how can other people help me with that, and how can I help you be your best self? And so we write all that into the contract, and then we write in, the widgets are going to cost this much, and we're going to make, this many, and all of that kind of stuff. And then the people, they sign this agreement that they can actually understand. There might be some pictures in it. I'm also a big legal design and using art and comics and all of that in contracts. Let's have these conversations, and let's figure out how we're going to resolve things, and let's get to work. Let's do the thing we came together to do. Now, one of the things that happens that people actually sometimes find out that they're not a match, and if that's the case, they can still be friends. They just aren't a match. And there's no, well, you did this and you did that, that happens to people. There's like, oh, well, I'm really glad we got this clarity, and now we can go our separate ways, instead of getting 6 months into it and realizing, this is not what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to look like this. My expectation was you would do this. And the other person say, no, my expectation, you would do that, because I don't like to do that.
Isn't that crazy? And that is so beautiful, because that's the way I see it is, because if you're really conscious, you're only living now. And many people can't even think about that notion when you're going to enter into a contract. Well, hang on, I want to, build widgets with you for 5 years, and we've got this 5-year plan. Well, all that we have is now, really. And we can agree on what it all is now. And we have a vision, absolutely. But yes, your view of the world is different to mine. And so we have a broad brush, this is what we kind of like. And that's right, don't lock people in. And that's where I'm coming back from the point of view of energy. You can't lock in energy, it flows. So more of a flowing contract where you can say, 6 months down the track, that wasn't really what I thought we were going to do. And I really love that you have mechanisms for moving through it without blaming somebody else. You didn't tell me, or that, or this, or I didn't tell you that, or this is your fault. Well, no, because what everyone sees from their point of view is true for them, isn't it?
And you get to know each other, and like, you get to tell on yourself, this is what I look like when I'm not happy. How do you know if Kim is angry at you? Well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you what it looks like if Kim is angry with you.
Yeah, that's it.
Because this is the operating manual for me.
Yeah.
And then in the contract, I usually build in that we will do a review in 6 months, a year, or whatever, to see how it's working.
Yeah. Check in.
Yeah. Or sometimes people check in weekly. It depends on the contract. And then if something needs to be changed and they agree that it needs to be changed, they can change it. But it's strong enough to stand on, because it is, it's like, this is where we're going. And when things go awry, we have a system for either writing it or coming up with a new plan.
Yeah, and I think you're right. The pandemic was something really valuable to us all, to have a look at how we interact with each other, and because law is about relationship, full stop. law governs relationship. It doesn't do much else. That's what it does. And if we can learn to, we cannot see all possibility, but we can know that all possibility could happen. and there's no, as I think we were talking earlier, there's no protection against anything happening. It's just life. Flow with it. I mean, what experience is there for you? And I think that's just such a beautiful way of looking at things. That's amazing. I love that. I really do. And so, the book, when is that coming out? Do you have a bit of a timeline for that at all? I'm pretty excited about that.
At the earliest, at the end of this year, but probably in the beginning of 2022.
Yeah. They're such a major project books. They really, really are. People don't realize it. They just whip out a book, and no, you don't just whip out a book.
No, it's not about the writing. The writing takes its time, and then there has to be a cover and typeset and beautiful design, and then it has to be put in the queue for getting it actually printed, and the marketing people have to have a look at it, and you have to have people who are, famous people who will say nice things about it.
You said something nice about my book, so that was a famous person saying something nice about my book, and I appreciate it. But yes, so I know the process too, and it does take that time to birth it. So, but it is worthwhile and such an important topic, and I'm sure it'll be really well read and well received by everybody, particularly probably be delivered at the right time, and that's what I think.
It'll
about
be the right
things.
time.
Everything happens in divine timing, I call it.
We thought now is the right time, but apparently not.
What do we know? And that's
what do we know?
At the end of the day, what do we know? We just go with the flow and just see, where the guidance takes us. And I love it. Well, it's been so fabulous to have you today on the show. Thank you so much, Kim. I really, really appreciate it, because it really just is showing people that changes are happening. Hang in there. Reach out to any of us that are in this space, because we are here for you. And, Kim also has the Integrative Law Movement, which is a fabulous place to meet wonderful people too. So look her up on her website, which is in the description here. Please do that. Because when I met Kim, she connected me with so many people right away. And that just made everything so much easier to think, wow, I'm not alone. There are people out here doing it. Some have been doing it for a very long time, but I feel, and I think you might too, Kim, that there is a real shift happening now.
I think that especially COVID had people wake up and say, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
And climate change, and there are all these things that need some attention. And I'm doing mergers and acquisitions. And it's not fulfilling to me, and it's not fulfilling to the planet, and my clients don't much like it either. And so I'd like to do something different. And so I'm getting a lot of people who like big firms and people who are reaching out and saying they've already quit their job and now they're looking to start something new.
So that's time. We're all here to support.
We started actually officially certifying people in conscious contracts last year as part of the pandemic, and so we have a nice little group. But this year we actually have 22 people who are working on their certification at this moment, and so which is going to more than double our certified group. So, that I think that's some measure of people are saying, no, I really want something different now.
Yeah, and that is really, really amazing, because just when we're talking about the beginning that law has this fear-based energy about it, is that as soon as we're doing things like this, we've been putting love is of the essence as a clause into contracts, into nonprofits and things like that, and other corporations, because that we're saying, Lawyers for Love are saying that if you have to make a decision, it's got to be based in love. And we've given a little definition about that. We say, for the lawyer mind, love is a state of being without fear that operates for the highest good of all in every moment. And so this is really, people are excited just to put love, the word love, into a document. And by doing that, I believe it just energizes things with the energy of love. It just gives it the frequency. So we're all doing a little sneaky thing to poke a bit of love into the law. And that's, a couple of things that we're doing as well. So it's all these contributions are beautiful, and we're sharing them, and it's amazing times. And I'm so happy to be here on the planet with all these amazing lawyers. I will say that too. So thank you again, Kim. As I say, look up Kim's work in the description below. Her website is there. Please do reach out. And any lawyers out there that are bringing love into their legal practice or know someone who is, please do contact us. We'd love to have you on the show. Until next time, take care.
Thank you.
Bye.